thanks for those of you who've taken the time to join us this afternoon or early evening. It'll be good to see a show of hands maybe at the end, how many of you think that this 5 o'clock is a little bit too late and prefer to try and do it within business hours, but we'll get there, and we want to make sure that we get the attendance as best as possible. Obviously, a lot of time and effort goes into actually present, basically preparing to present. So yeah, we want to make sure we get the most out of it. Just the housekeeping, obviously, if you can mute yourselves, but please, there's only a few of us on the call today anyway, so please, we'd love you to interact, engage, ask questions wherever we can. We will obviously answer you as best we can, and for those things that we probably can't or we don't know, we'll go off and check, and we could always come back to you. So today's session is all around the release of the spring release 2020, which is actually already in your orgs. So it got rolled out 2 weeks ago, the week of Valentine's Day, 14th of Feb, somewhere around there. So everyone should have access to all the new features and functions. But yeah, and we're going to try and show you as practically as possible how you can go and find those. We've combined, obviously, as most of you know, the virtual calls are a combination of our Melbourne and our Sydney user group. It just makes sense. And so we've got our leaders from the Melbourne user group who Kat is now part of the online educational services. Andy's actually just joined Des, and so and then we've got Claudia and myself. And on the Sydney side, we've got Austin, Anu, and Sarah, who's joined us recently on that one. So that's really exciting. For those of you on the call, we are looking for a fourth in Sydney. So if anyone wants to put your hand up, it's not a big commitment. It's not a massive amount of your time. And because there's 4, you pretty much only have to organize one every 4 months, pretty much. So that's 2 user groups potentially a year that you would be asked to organize and coordinate. I'm going to hand over to Anu now. She's going to take you through. So Anu, if you want to share your slides, I'll drop mine. She's going to take you through the first couple of enhancements, and then I will take you through the last few. So over to you, Anu.
Thank you, Tammy. So I'll just share my screen now.
Yep.
Are you all able to see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, like Tammy mentioned, we will be covering the best of Pardot Spring 2022 releases today, and I'll be focusing mainly on enhanced landing page experience updates and custom components for email template builder. So I'm going to give a quick intro on each of the releases, the top 6 one mainly, and Tammy will be covering the rest. But yeah, like if it's too complicated, or if you think it's a bit technical while you're listening to me, do not worry about it, because right after the intro, like I will also be doing a demo of each of them. So you can also ask me questions towards the end if you have any. So first one to start with, page level script. Like with the new landing page builder, we earlier did not have an option to add any form of JavaScript or styling into the builder itself. As most of you all know, with the classic landing page, obviously we had that option and to do that via layout template. So you can manually hard code it into your layout template. However, with the new release, Salesforce has added a separate section where you can actually add the header or footer code into. So it could be like any form of JavaScript or tracking code. And yeah, you will easily be able to do that now. And the second one is form styling in the builder. So earlier we did not have this option. So you were not able to, like we wouldn't be able to update or create any styling for the form directly in the landing page builder. However, now you'll be able to do that. And also with the classic Pardot forms, I think we had like very limited options to do that. For instance, in the look and feel step where there's a style tab, you would only be able to update the font styling with regards to font color or font family and font size and even alignment. And I think there was one more field where you can add the mandatory character into it. However, with the new builder, Salesforce allows us to add up to like 40 different properties. So you can add like 40 different CSS into the landing page builder directly, which is quite handy. And regarding custom URL for unpublished pages, so this is very similar to vanity URL field. So that's pretty much a field that's available in the new landing page builder, where if you add the custom URL there, like so anyone who is accessing an unpublished page, Pardot automatically redirects you to the URL that you'll be adding into this field. So the best use case that I can think of is, for example, if someone is trying to access an event page that was over like earlier and they're just trying to access it, what you can now do is you can add a URL which will automatically redirect them to a new page that is probably talking about an upcoming event or even like a product information from the company. So instead of for them to have a look at the old event page. And there are also other updates in terms of pre-built layouts and breadcrumbs updates. So pre-built layouts is in the new landing page builder. Like earlier, there was an option where you can add like rows and then different rows into the landing page builder, and then you customize the row and add like one or two columns. However, now you have like already pre-built layouts where there are sections of where sorry, where you can add different sections with one column or two column options because they are like already pre-built. You don't need to like customize it on your end. And breadcrumbs, that's pretty much navigation. So if you are, for instance, in a specific content block, like trying to work on the styling of the form, it also gives you a navigation at the top where you can move to other content blocks and update the styling from there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the landing page. And for email templates, multiple tracker domain support, as you might have guessed, it's very similar to the classic email where you will have an option to choose between different tracker domains available in your Pardot account. So the same thing has been added into the new landing page builder as well. And email content automations is once you have the email all ready to go, and you will have to click on an action called Activate for Automations, which will then allow the email template to be available for pretty much all automations in Pardot, like completion actions or engagement studio automation rules and list emails and so on. So what I'm going to do now is a quick demo of what I just explained of each of the releases. I think it'll be a lot easier for you to follow as well.
Yeah, and while Anu's going to find that, I think everyone would have seen like the bulk of all our releases or Pardot's releases this last release have been around trying to gain that parity between the classic and the new Lightning builders. Because as everybody probably would like, we would probably all like to move away from the classic builders and move towards being able to use those Lightning builders with the drag and drop components, but there was so much missing from when they launched those that they're just trying to build on those. So you'll see that's why it's a massive amount of the release notes are all around that parity between the Lightning stuff and the classic.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tammy. Yep, so I've logged into the Pardot Lightning org. So as you can see over here, like you have like different options. Like you'll have to look for the landing page one. If you don't see this, then you will also be able to find it in App Launcher, and there are different ways to actually get access to it. But I'm just assuming that you already have all the email builders and the landing page builder all set up in your org. So I'm just going to click into this. Click on a specific landing page. So that's the page that will come up when you click into a landing page that you've built using the Lightning Builder. So the first one that I would like to show you is the page level script that I just mentioned earlier. So when you click into the settings tab, so sometimes, I think most of the times the settings tab automatically appears if you have a landing page builder already up and running. But if you might have done any customizations previously in your Lightning record page for the landing page, then you might have to like manually add it by adding a tab and name it as settings, and then also drag and drop the different components. Like in this case, it's only header and footer code. So you'll have to drag and drop those components into the section. But majority of the cases, this should already be there, like it'll automatically be added. And if you click into these fields, they open up as a pop-up field. And this will allow you to add up to, sorry, oh my God, I'm losing my voice. Sorry, so this will allow you to add up to 3,000 characters per field. So 3,000 characters, it's separate for header, as well as you get another set of 3,000 characters that you can add into the footer code. So in total, you get to add about 6,000 characters. And also in terms of the type of script that you add into these fields, only scripts like these ones, tags like strip tag or style tag or I think link tag. So these are the only ones that are applicable in these two field boxes. However, you might have come across some tracking codes that starts with a script like that. Sorry, starts with a tag like no script. Also, the meta tags, they are not allowed here. Like they essentially wouldn't work in these fields. So you can only add script, link, or style tags into these boxes. And also, of course, the code that you add into these boxes, it only gets executed once the page has been published. Otherwise, yeah, it doesn't usually work in previews. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the page level script. Did you have any questions here? All right, I'm gonna move on to the next release. We can even discuss, if you have any further questions, we can even discuss about it later at the end of the session. So the next release is the form styling directly into the landing page builder, which is a very exciting one. So in order to access that, you click into the Edit in Builder button. So it's an already pre-built landing page. We just added into this option. So over here, a form has been already added. Like for example, if you want to just add a form into a component, what you can do is just click into this option and choose the form component again. And on the right-hand side, it will ask you to choose a form from the list of options that you might have had in the backend. I'm choosing that one again. And under the style tab, this is what I was referring to, which has almost about 40 different properties. And you can literally update the styling directly into the page builder. So I think earlier when the new landing page builder was released, we were only able to add like one form per page that you create. But with this particular update with regards to styles, this allows us to use one form across multiple pages that you can build in the Lightning page builder. For instance, if you want to just use one form and make sure that form has different styling based on the page that you're adding to, then you can directly update the styles in the page builder, because this will not affect the actual style in the backend of the form. So that's pretty cool. And then also, as soon as you add the forms, so there are different properties over here, right? So they all auto-populate some of the default values based on the form that you're adding in here. So you can update these values, or once you've updated it, if you want to go back to the default values, then the only way you can do that is by deleting the form and then re-adding the form into the component again. And also some of the options, like even when I was testing this earlier, I noticed that some of the colors that you actually update over here, they might not immediately reflect into the page builder. But please don't panic if that happens, because only when you publish it, the actual changes sometimes come across, mainly with these color options. So these were the ones that Salesforce mentioned that they don't appear in the preview, because obviously these will work only when there's an error message in the form. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the forms. And the third release was about unpublish redirect URL. So that is a field which is very similar to vanity URL, and it usually does not appear in the builder directly. So you'll have to manually add it into the builder. So you'll be able to do that under setup. So you just have to go into the landing page object manager to do this. and it shouldn't take more than 30 seconds, but yeah. It's landing page and page layouts. So in fields, this has already been added in here. That's pretty strange. So usually that button appears in here. So when you click into fields, and you just have to drag and drop it into the landing page component over here. And what this will do is it'll automatically, oh, it's already been added here. Sorry, my bad. I didn't notice. I think I might have added it earlier this morning. So yeah, so usually it's not added, so you'll have to manually drag and drop it into the components here, and then it appears this way.
So just so everyone knows, you'd need admin access to be able to do that. You can't do it without admin access.
That's right, yeah.
Yep.
So you can update, you can add the URL in here. So it's usually in this format, like the standard format. A full URL must be added in here. And if you are not adding any URL here, then what Pardot does is if someone is trying to access an unpublished page, it automatically redirects to the page that is specified in your account settings, like most likely your website. Otherwise, if you're mentioning a specific URL, then it automatically redirects to that URL. So yeah. And in terms of the pre-built layout columns that I was talking about, so it's over here. So even you also have another option. You can either drag and drop it, or when you are clicking into this option, it appears in here as well. So it's all about just dragging and dropping. Well, yeah. And then you can decide whether it can be like a rich text component or an image. And then, yeah, you'll have multiple options over here. And in terms of breadcrumbs, for example, if you're working on the Pardot form, like within this particular section, what this allows you to do is, this is the breadcrumb that I was referring to. So you can automatically click into row. So that will highlight the entire box in here. And if you want, you can update the background color for that specific box. Or if you want to just go back to the Pardot one and update the style for the Pardot one, then you can choose a different color, for example. Yeah, so it updates like that. So it's quite handy because it gives you that option to navigate between different options, and it's applicable across every row that you're working on. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the landing page builder releases that we wanted to show you all today. Regarding the email content, so it's the first one was mainly about choosing between different tracker domains. So if you click into email content, so you first build the email template, and then email content is where you actually use the same email template to send the email out. So over here, like in the right-hand side, when you click into send, once the email is completely ready, so you will see the field for tracker domain next to campaign. So now you have this option to choose between the different tracker domains that you have.
So for those of you who are using multiple brands and multiple CNAMEs in your Pardot, you couldn't align your Lightning email builders to those. So this is a big one for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you don't have any tracker domain selected here, then how it works for the classic version, the primary domain that has been selected in the domain management settings gets added to the email, and that's what will appear in all the links. And also for business units, obviously, each business unit, depending on the number of tracker domains they have, that will only be applicable for that specific tracker domain, for that specific business unit. Do you have any questions regarding this before I jump on to the last release on content automations? Awesome, I'll take that as no. And the last release that I wanted to discuss was earlier with the landing page builder. We did not have an option to use the email template that you build in the landing page builder for other automations like completion actions or automation rules. So now you do have that. So this is done through the action activate for automation. So this particular action is also not automatically added. You again have to go into the setup, and there is a specific permission set that you need to select and make some changes in the backend, which is use CMS with email templates and email content. I'm going to quickly show you that. Yeah, it's this permission set. So once you click into it, under system permissions, sorry, you have to make sure that these two options are ticked. So activate email for automation and access drag and drop content builders. These needs to be selected. And once this is done in the backend, you will have this specific button automatically added in your email content page. So once you click on it, so what this does is it opens up a page where it will ask you to update the sender details. Okay, this one already has it, but yeah, it usually, if you don't have any information here, it usually prompts you to add a campaign as well as the sender information. And then you hit activate. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, if you go and check into automations, for example, and go into an automation rule, add automation rules, and I'm just going to scroll down to actions just to see if that email is available to use here. I'm going to just send email. And there it is. So now any email templates that you build using the new landing page builder is available for all automation. So it's available in automation rule, as you can see. And even if you
Anu,
yeah.
you keep saying landing page builder, but I think everybody understands it's the lightning builder.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Lightning email builder. There's so much going on with landing pages and email.
Yeah.
It's the email lightning builder.
Yeah, no, I was even reading an article somewhere. I saw some experience something. Oh, I forgot it. Like I think there's another
Did
name to this.
Did you want to just jump back into the permission set screen so that everyone can see the actual, because you scroll down really, really quickly. There you go. Use CMS with email templates and email content is the permission set. And then the other question is the two that you need to choose is activate. We can't see it on your screen, Anu. It's very tiny. So maybe you could just call it out. That's all. That's better. Yep, that's much better. Activate email for automations and access drag and drop content builder.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's the third one here. And the permission set again is use CMS with email templates and email content. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go back slightly, and if we just quickly check the completion actions as well to see if the email is available here to use. So send autoresponder email, and then there it is. So now, as soon as you do active for automation, you click into that actions, the email will be applicable or available for all of the automations. Same applies to the engagement program and also list emails. So it's very similar to like concept-wise, it's quite similar to the classic emails. Like when you're making any changes in the emails, you'll have to ensure that you publish it to make sure those changes are applied and reflected into the automations that you're using. So same is applicable over here as well. So instead of publishing, over here, you need to click into activate for automations. And that's when any changes that you're making into your emails that you're already using in automations will be applicable or will be reflected in the actual email sent. So,
And I guess, yeah, Kristen, your point is probably a good one to remind everyone. So I did say earlier on that you'd need like admin access to go into the permission sets and stuff. A couple of releases ago, they released what's called the marketing wizard setup. And so that's actually designed specifically for frustrated marketers who have to log tickets with the Salesforce admin every time they want something changed. So it can be set up in such a way that you can get admin access to just what you need for Pardot and be able to change some of those things rather than having access to the whole org and then potentially making a fundamental error in something. So yeah, that's a good call out, Kristen. Cool. All right. So if there are no other, yeah, thank you. If there are no other questions, and I might just share my screen and just do the last few, and I think we're going to be done quite quickly tonight. Maybe it's quite refreshing that I know there's been a lot of updates in Pardot, so that I think Anu made it really, it seemed like it was so seamless and everything was quite simple, but as users, it's probably a lot to digest and take in. So I appreciate that. From our perspective, it was really nice to see that there was nothing hectically technical or anything that we had to get our heads around at this point in time, because it's been a very tiring last few years learning all the technical changes and stuff. But the couple things that I'm going to talk to you about is the email open rule audit tool. Anyone seen it? Anyone gone? And it's a little message at the top of your screen at the moment. If in everyone's Pardot, there's a little gray line there saying, "Have you heard about it?" That's pretty cool. Email templates in the Engage campaign. So again, those Lightning email templates are now available for Engage, because previously they weren't. And there's a few things that you have to switch on to be able to enable those. Then there's more work happening on the Pardot Slack connector completion actions. So it's quite a nice sort of summary page that I'll show you where if you've enabled the Slack connector, you will then be able to get some good information and data. And then for those of you who've been frustrated about getting lots of spam because of bots sort of scrolling and moving across your web, Pardot's actually gone and automated. So if a bot or a bot tries to fill in your forms and it tries multiple times, Pardot will pick it up and automatically add the reCAPTCHA, so you don't even have to put the reCAPTCHA in yourself. It actually is now automated, and it's across all the Pardot instances. And then I've got a little surprise at the end, which has been announced recently on socials about one of the things that we've been begging for years has been voted right up by the community, and it's going to probably be, I can't really say because I don't know what the release schedule is, but maybe in the next release or the next couple release. So yeah, perfect. Cool. So I'm just going to get out of there and get into my Pardot. So the first thing that I'm going to show you now, I'm just swapping screens, is I'm going to talk you through the Pardot audit. So for those of you, I said, please excuse, we've got lots of gray lines at the moment. This one, if you've got a clean homepage, should be where you are. This is a link directly to it, but for those of you, I've put in there how to navigate to it yourself. So you go to Pardot Reports, Marketing Assets, and Automations, and there's an open rules audit. Now, why did this come about? This came about because of the Apple Mail privacy permissions that came out last year. And for those of you who weren't at any of our user groups, we expected to see, due to the behavior of how Apple treats emails, we expected to see a massive spike in email opens in our data. And as everyone said, you don't want to use email opens as a vanity metric anymore because it's actually not real. But there were a lot of customers that have obviously used that metric in engagement programs and triggers or dynamic lists or automation rules. And the thought, for those of you who've had a Pardot instance for years and years and years, to go back and try and work out where you'd use that, if you'd use it, was quite scary. So this is a report that pretty much says to you, you've got 60 engagement programs that are using it as where that, and then it lists them out for you. We've got no dynamic lists and no automation rules. So yeah, and then 74 engagement program triggers. So that's looking at the little nodes in the program and saying that there's 74 triggers within these engagement programs that have actually got email open as a criteria. So then you can go through it and then you can go and change it. And so best practice is always to think about what your objective of that email is, and rather have the engagement program looking for a click on a specific link rather than just trying to gauge opens. Because again, if you've got a large database of customers using Apple, your metrics will be completely skewed, and it'll be an unrealistic representation of your success in your marketing. The next one that I was going to cover off was the Engage. So if for those of you who are using Engage, maybe a show of hands or put your hands up. Has anyone got Engage that's on the call? Does so maybe Christina, I'm going to say, maybe you can lower your hand. Kristen, maybe you can lower your hand. The question I have is, does everybody on the call know what Engage is? So if you don't raise your hand. If you do raise your hand, it'll allow me to work out how much detail I can give you. Okay, cool. Someone's asked the question. I'm gonna answer it for you. So Engage is an add-on to Pardot. So you have to be using Pardot and obviously Sales Cloud to be able to use Engage. And Engage is a product if you've got a big Salesforce team, sales team, let's call them sales because we don't call them Salesforce in this world, a big sales team who like to go out and actually run some of their own mini campaigns. And also are quite active in understanding how their customer base are engaging with our assets and stuff. It's so it's a tool that it plugs into Pardot. It allows the sales people the ability to send up 200 of their own bulk emails a day. You as the marketing teams can craft the emails and actually get the content and everything written. There's also ways for you to allow blocks that they can personalize some of the content themselves, but you can lock the blocks as well. And so that allows them to actually execute without coming to you and asking you and giving you lists and saying, can you send this bulk email on my behalf to these customers? It just allows them to do that themselves. They also then get all the reporting. So it stops that, can you tell me how many people opened my email, who opened my email, or who clicked on my links and stuff. So it gives you like, yeah, a bit of autonomy to the sales team, as well as there's a deck, like what we call an action, what's the word for it? It's like a deck that they get where it says, this customer of yours was just on this website on our website, or this page on our website, or this customer of yours filled out this form. So it's really like for them to be able to see what their customer base are doing and be able to then use those actions and asset engagement points to pick up the phone and sort of say to the customer, you know, how you're doing, without being big brotherish and stuff. But yeah, so that's essentially in a really, really small nutshell what Engage is. And up to today, you've been only able to use the Lightning Email Builder emails. You've only been able to use the classic email templates inside Engage. But if you have Engage and you go to Pardot settings, you can go to the Edit tab. And for those of you who have Engage as part of your license, you would go right down to the very bottom where it says Salesforce Engage. And here you get the ability to toggle on between either Classic or Lightning. And then you can choose, based on how you've saved your Lightning email templates, which folders you want to be able to get them from. And then you can search for the folders. So that's where you switch that on now. So that's really, really useful. Right, then the next thing that I was going to talk to you about is the Pardot Slack connector completion action. So again, I'm not going to move out of here because it has to be enabled in here. So to get to So a couple things you've obviously got to add. So for those of you who haven't gone down the road, the first way to get Slack working, if you're using Slack, is you add it as a connector. So that was the release, I think one release ago, where Slack became a out-of-the-box connector. So that was added in. There's now a beta program going on through this release where you can also now, because you can imagine, so what you can do is you can add completion actions. So you can tell if a form's been completed, you can add a completion action to say, send this to the Slack channel. So let's pretend you've got a whole sales development group that's on one Slack channel, and you want to make sure that they know every time a certain form's been submitted that they get notified in that Slack channel. So that's that completion action. But over time and over maturity of using this, I'm sure it's going to get really hectic. You won't remember which channels, where, how, and what. So what they've devised is the ability to set up this Pardot Slack beta. So we've already ticked the box, but for those of you who go into your Pardot settings and edit, you'll see that it'll be unticked. So you'll obviously have to get your connector put in first, you tick it, and then from there, it takes you to the ability in the connectors. So we'll go back to that connector. And then you'll click on the cog and you'll click on edit. And then please go away. I'm busy. Thank you. And then here you'll see there's some headlines that tell you what workspaces you've got active for your Slack, what channels you've got active, and where are you using all the various completion actions for that Slack. Show of hands, who is using Slack as companies here? Anybody? Cool. Not a lot out of the group. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if those of you that have put up your hand have even gone down the path of enabling the Pardot the Slack connector, and whether you've started to use it or trial it. I think it's going to be great. We're moving across to Slack as part of our being part of the Media Monks group in the next month. So we're getting more and more into how Slack works from that perspective. Okay, and then the last little thing, but I can't even show you it, is talking about the reCAPTCHA. So for those of you who don't know what reCAPTCHA is, it's a tool that's outside of Pardot that is embedded into Pardot, and the experience that you have is when you fill out a form and it asks you either to say I'm not a robot, or it asks you to pick out certain pictures with certain elements and objects in it just to confirm that you're not a bot. But that's going to be an automatic part of Pardot soon. Perfect. So, and then I've got the little surprise, but I wanted to know, there were some questions. So before I go into that, it looks like Claudia is doing a great job. So Kim, you asked for more info on Engage. There you go. There's a short video. Thank you, Claudia. Anyone else had a question that I didn't get to? I thought there was. Can I chat to you about the resubscribe functionality? I think I saw that. Yeah. Do you want to take yourself off mute, Kristen, and ask us?
Yeah, for sure. So we've got this resubscribe option working on a Pardot form on a Pardot landing page, and we've configured in the connector the whole resubscribe options and put like a resubscribe email together with a link using the resubscribe merge field and everything. And there is a known issue at the moment with Salesforce. When people opt out from Pardot, they're not being opted out in Salesforce, and then any kind of mass action or anything in Salesforce overnight will realize that, we'll update all the records and go, oh, this person is not opted out, and then opt them back in. And that's a problem in itself. Because
the opt-out field should by default be mapped and synced across from Pardot to the
Yes,
default opt-out
exactly.
field. Yep.
Exactly. But it's
Yep.
a known issue at the moment, and they don't
Oh.
really seem after 27 days to have
Oh, wow.
an answer for this, which is really disturbing.
From a
But I
privacy
think,
perspective, yes.
yeah, but I think like it actually also has something to do with the resubscribe option, because I haven't actually been able to get the resubscribe option to work in production or a test or anything. And I wonder if it's,
And you've just been trying it in the last few days?
well, the last 2 weeks,
2
really.
weeks?
Yeah,
I
like
might
it's full on.
I might ask some of my other colleagues on the call, because I, to be very honest, I have not been in Pardot a lot over the last month or so in my new role. But I don't know if anyone else on the call in our team has heard about this from your customers.
I have not heard about that, the unsubscribe field not syncing correctly. That is quite disturbing.
It's really disturbing, right? And they seem to be pushing it under the rug, which is a little bit disturbing for a lot of people who rely on Salesforce to be doing this kind of thing. I mean, I certainly don't want to be interrupting things, but I think it's something that, I mean, I'm pushing with Salesforce support, and I think that if it affects anybody else on this call, we should be maybe looking into it and adding our voices to it, because it's a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, I sit on the Pardot advisory board at Salesforce.
Okay, great.
So I can also post something in the Slack channel there and just ask what's happening.
That would be amazing, because this resubscribe option seems to be, they say, oh no, it shouldn't affect the resubscribe option, but it seems to me like it's not working at all.
Well, it wouldn't work, right? Because
No, exactly, because the opt-out, like they're looking at it from a very narrow point of view, like, oh, this issue isn't working, but I think it's actually a wider issue with their consent process.
Have you got
we're a Salesforce partner, and we don't want to be like bringing this up, but we kind of have to bring it up, right?
Yeah, have you got a link to the known issue that you can pop in the chat?
Yeah,
and then I can just copy that out, and then
there's the known issues link in the chat right now.
Where did you pop it in there?
In the chat, yeah.
Cool, perfect, thanks.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Yep,
No
great,
worries.
thanks, Chris.
Okay.
So yeah, let me see if I can dig into that one and see if I get anything else out of them. But it makes sense why the resubscribe wouldn't work, right? Because if
precisely, but they're pushing back on that, and I'm like, no. So we need more voices, or I'm being a dick, and you can help me, like.
But if the
say,
unsubscribe button's not ticked, then the resubscribe doesn't kick in.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
exactly.
it makes complete sense to me.
Yeah,
it complete sense.
It only works. It should be working. I'm like, but no, it's your whole consent process. It seems to be a little bit broken right now.
Well, let me have a look at that.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I'd really appreciate that.
Christine, is that like, just to dig a bit deeper, is that that you don't see the message, that's basically when you're testing, you can't see the message in the first place by saying it looks like you previously opted out?
Yes, so there's a Pardot landing page with a Pardot form on it, and the Pardot form's got the resubscribe options ticked, and then the resubscribe email is already there in published templates with the resubscribe merge field ready to go and everything. And so everything is set up in the back end. And when I'm on that landing page, Claudia, if you want to send me something, an email or something like that, then I'd be happy to do a test with you. But when we send them the resubscribe, that when we send them the link to the landing page, I would expect when I put in my opted out email address that it comes up with, hey, looks like you're unsubscribed, whatever. Would you like to opt in? That doesn't happen. So our thank you message says, hey, keep an eye on your inbox. Thanks so much for resubscribing. Expect something to come, kind of thing. But no email comes either. So the resubscribe email isn't triggering. And the form is not actually triggering, the Pardot form's not triggering the fact that the contact has opted out previously either.
Yeah, that's why I was actually trying to go with this, Christine. Because that the email not firing, the issue with that could be if you're using multiple tracker domains. I'm not sure if you've set up multiple tracker domains.
No, we've got one tracker domain, which is team.
Okay, because like we had that issue and we identified that the tracker domain must be the same on the layout template.
Yeah, it
and
is.
the
We've only
form.
got one tracker domain.
Okay, because that's what we found by the email.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good point, though. Thank you for that. But yeah, in this case, it is one tracker domain, team dot. That's all they want.
Hey,
Okay.
Kristen,
Yeah.
just with the landing page, you mentioned sometimes the resubscribe feature never shows.
The resubscribe. So when on the landing page with the Pardot form, when you put in your first name and email address, I was expecting just from the documentation that when I type in my email address and Pardot recognizes it, that it would say, "Hey, you're not
Yep, that's
subscribed."
correct.
Yeah, that's not popping up, and I'm not getting the resubscribe email. Yep.
Sometimes one thing just to consider is sometimes the styling of the layout can actually override the resubscribe feature
That's
from popping
true.
up. So it might be worth
Really?
just double checking if you've got if it's a Pardot hosted landing page or a Pardot form, that the styling of the form has allowed for that resubscribe feature to display, because often that the styling of the form, when it's been built, they haven't factored in the resubscribe feature to display, and therefore it can sometimes be hidden.
Okay. Awesome. So Austin, do you have like a piece of code that the developers know? Because often like these are web developers who have no idea about Pardot and Salesforce. And they, like, let's face it, the Pardot forms are very basic and a little bit ugly. They don't really fit on websites without some sort of styling.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually build our forms completely from scratch with our clients, Kristen. Like we do a complete CSS styling of them in a layout template. That's why.
Yes, same. So
Yeah.
we do all that as well for our guys, and they have beautiful forms and things on their pages. But if there is a critical piece of code that we're missing that is failing to trigger this resubscribe option,
Yeah.
all I'm asking is, can we please get that code snippet so that our developers can include it?
Yeah, it's not actually it's not actually HTML that indicates the resubscribe feature from showing. It's because the HTML is strictly guided by Pardot's out of the box form functionality. It's the CSS that determines how it looks, the styling of it, and that CSS can be configured in so many different ways, really depending on how that form is supposed to look. So unfortunately, there's no cookie cut approach to it. What you could potentially do, and I'm not sure if this would work. Again, web development isn't my area of expertise, but one thing to potentially consider is inspecting the form and seeing if you can see the resubscribe feature, at least in the HTML of the website, because that will indicate that the CSS is hiding it from vision, but it's still sitting in the back end of the website.
Okay. Okay, so that's great being able to identify it, but is there a fix for a client that's struggling with this right now?
Not at the moment, because unless you can find out if it's hidden, there's no fix.
Christine, it's based on, every form can be styled differently. So you might have a white background or a black background or a gray background. And basically that little snippet of like that little sentence where it says, if you like to resubscribe, that needs to be styled accordingly, if that makes sense. So if that font is black by default and your font form background is black as well, it would be like invisible, if that makes sense. So basically you would need to, based on how your forms are styled, ensure that the styling of that sentence is
It's a different color.
that's right. Thanks.
Right. Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
think-
that really does. And I would ask then if one of you would be able on a paid engagement to be available to help us with this, to get it working.
Yeah, we can definitely take it offline, Kristen, and
Yes,
have a chat to you.
thank
If you want to reach out to
appreciate
me, that'll be great. Cool. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to share with you was the surprise and the oh, now it's telling me I can't share my screen. That won't be very good. Anu might have to do it, but let's try again. Is the big blah 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 surprise? Hopefully, it lets me share. Big announcement, drum rolls. And so, yeah, I don't know, for those of you who have been really frustrated in the past, completion actions couldn't be very specific to a specific action and then do something off a very certain criteria. And so people have been putting on the community, and this is why I talked about this, is how important it is for you to watch what's on the Ideas Exchange and vote them up. Everyone's got their own little voting money that you can spend on these things, but it's the community that votes things up that actually gets them to the point where they're going to get developed. So conditional completion actions is a new feature that will be launched at some stage in the future. And pretty much what it is an automation rule. So, automation rules fire continuously and are looking continuously, plus a completion action, which is, this form was filled out and therefore I'm going to do a completion action. It's kind of combining them together. So they only fire, conditional completion actions only fire when the prospect actually meets the certain criteria that you stipulate. So very, very basic example I can give you is like if someone, a lot of clients get frustrated when you fill out a form and you want that form to only go if the country's X to go to this group. And so if they haven't written a CRM automation rule, then it's very hard to make Pardot do that. And it creates lots of rules to be able to say to Pardot, when Germany's selected, then send it to this queue. And when Italy's selected, send it to this queue. So conditional completion actions, and I don't know a lot about it. This is all I know. Because it's just hot off the press. I've read a blog about it, and I've read a bit of stuff on social media. But essentially it says, okay, well, if Germany is selected, you can tell Pardot to send anyone who selects Germany to the German queue or to the person inside Salesforce who looks after all the German inquiries, which is not easily done today. So what it's done is a lot of people have used very, very complex engagement studio programs to be able to set up the logic of if it's this, then do this. If it's no, then do that. So it's going to take away from those really complicated engagement studio programs, which I know our team love to do because that's how we solve a lot of the problems. But that counts against your engagement studio programs usage. And the other thing is automation rules. So, we know we've got automation rules we've got set usages for those. And so you don't want to run out of those. So everyone's excited about this. As I say, I have not seen one screen or anything from Salesforce as what it looks like, but this is just hot off the press. So hopefully everyone else who's had some frustrations might see some light around this. So cool. Yeah, so there I can see Kristen saying having a separate form handler with JavaScript for each option. Need to go. Thank you. Yep. Cool. So that's pretty much everything for today. The last bit is anyone's got any further questions that you might want to ask. Anybody want to tell us some content that you're looking for that you'd love for us to present on that would help you? The other question I have is, was this time okay for everybody, or do we want it slightly earlier? So maybe in the chat, if you can just go time's great earlier and give me some kind of indication there. Cool. If anyone wants to become a leader, as I say, Sydney's looking for a leader. There's a link in the deck that we'll share afterwards. I suppose everyone who's here, the time suited them, right? What a silly question. Those that didn't, they didn't come. Then obviously the marketers group, as I said to you, it's really where we come together. We're all here in our own personal capacity. We're passionate about Pardot, so we want everyone to learn something, and conversations like we had with Kristen are great. Everyone gets to learn a little bit about the product. In some of the sessions, we'll ask real life customers to come and present. And so that's all good. Create a campaign to just asking all the questions. Yep, thanks. Cool. Perfect. Oh, there was another link. I didn't know that, Helen. Sorry. Didn't realize there was 2 links. Perfect. Cool. Didn't realize there were a couple of links. That's very confusing. And then for those of you who just want to keep up to date with anything Pardot, there's some links in the deck at the end. It's all the release pages, any new features, the Trailblazer community, the Pardot Ideas Exchange. So that's the one that I spoke about. Get on that. Any very useful Pardot videos around concepts that they've presented on over the years, some of which is still applicable. And that is us. So we'd like to thank you for giving up your time to come and learn today. And I hope you all found it really, really useful. For those of you who knew, we do these every last Thursday of the month. And if we get someone from the US to talk, we normally have to do them in the morning. So we're not sure what our topic is next month yet, but we'll release that soon. So thank you. Have a good evening. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. That was really good.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jocelyn.